Hello everyone, welcome back to the Cozy Soul Knitting Podcast. So it's episode 22. I have so much to talk about in this episode. We're going to talk about my knitting, obviously. I went to Flock Fiber Festival on the Saturday, so of course I have a little yarn haul for you. I also thrifted yarn for the first time. So I'm gonna share that with you and talk about that for a little bit. I want to talk about bust shaping and some changes that I'm gonna be making when I'm picking sizes. I'm gonna talk about that. And I have another little thing to talk about before moving into my whips that has to do with blocking. So there's a lot that I want to cover in this episode. It's kind of all just so happened to be jammed packed into this episode. So we'll probably have another pretty long podcast today. So grab your knitting and maybe, some water or a snack or something and sit back, get cozy, and hang out with me for a little bit while I ramble. If you are new here, hello, welcome. I'm Saoirse. I am a knitter from the Pacific Northwest, specifically the Seattle area, like greater Seattle area. And this is where I talk about my knitting. And normally I follow, a fairly standard, regular, traditional type style podcast where I talk about what I'm wearing, finished objects, whips, and then acquisitions and future plans. Like I mentioned, I do have quite a bit to talk about, so we're not going quite in that order today, and I also don't have any finished objects to share, so I feel like next podcast we might have quite a few finished objects. I think everything is just at a point right now where it's close, but just not quite there yet. So I'm going to start by talking about what I'm wearing. And what I'm wearing kind of segues into what I was saying earlier about like bust shaping and choosing my size. So I'm gonna chat about both of those things. But anyways, first thing to note is that I did not knit this cardigan. I don't know, it doesn't look like it would be hand knit. I'm pretty sure it was machine knit. But this that I'm wearing underneath it is my mini mock neck tank. This is a design by Jessie Made Designs, and it is knit out of Knit Picks Gloss Fingering in, I think the colorway is Masala. So I wore this to Flock, and yeah, I don't have a lot of hand knit like tanks. I only have this and the Tolsta cami that I just knit that I need to figure out what I'm going to do with because it's a little too big basically. And I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the bust shaping. But this is one of my only other knitted tanks. Everything else I've knit for myself has sleeves, and I figured that Flock would be air conditioned, and it was. I didn't think it wouldn't be, but I just wasn't sure how crowded it would be. I wasn't sure how kind of nervous and sweaty I might get, so I just didn't want anything that I would get overheated in. And this one, the yarn that it's knit out of is like a merino wool, I think, in a silk blend. So I figured it wouldn't be terribly hot, but I don't know. So I decided to go for it, even though I was a little concerned it might be overly hot because of the wool. I just didn't have any summer tees that I wanted to wear to Flock. I guess I could have worn my Cumulus tee. That probably would have been just fine, but I felt like I had just been wearing it already so much, so I wanted to kind of switch it up. So if you were at Flock and you saw a girl walking around with, not half, but partially brunette, partially blonde hair, and this color mini mock neck tank, that was me. And yeah, let's see, what else do I want to say about this? I'm a little concerned at this yarn. It looks like it's starting to felt on the underarm section here, which I'm not loving, but I'm gonna I don't know, I'm gonna really wash it really extra well and make sure it's not like my deodorant that like just really got caked on there or something. But right now it's kind of, here, I'm gonna just kind of take this, I'm just gonna take it off fully. So this is what I wanted to talk about. As you can probably tell, there's a little bit of excess fabric right here, right? And this is kind of a similar issue that I was having with the Tulsa cami. There's just a little bit of extra fabric in this area. So like I was looking at the felting, maybe it's felting, I don't know, I'm not sure yet. I will keep you updated. I was looking at that and I noticed that it was kind of like on this horizontal axis right here at my full bust, it's kind of pulling the garment out a bit. So I actually measured it, and through the bust, like the full bust, it's actually 36 inches, and the bust circumference on this prior to the felting was about 35 inches. So the felting has kind of stretched it out a little bit. So I'm gonna cover my armpit. I feel weird, but I don't know if the camera will pick it up, if you can see. But I will put up pictures because I laid this out and I took pictures of kind of what's happening, but it's kind of tugging it out. So that just got me thinking. And so I looked at this, I measured my gauge. I was slightly off gauge. I think I was like a stitch and a half off of the gauge, like too small. My gauge was too small. So I had like, for 4 inches, I had like a stitch and a half more than I should have. And so I knit a size 4. It's supposed to have a bust circumference of 35.5 inches, so it's basically like a ½ inch off with this finished object. And then with the felting issue, it's like pulling right across here, it's just pulling it out more. Anyways, so that kind of got me thinking, because I was like, oh, I wonder if that's why it's had like too much extra like fabric. But then I was like, no, I remember having that issue prior to going to flock, prior to the felting. So I think just like the friction from like walking around all day and being, you know, a little slightly overheated and sweating maybe a little bit, like probably was a bad combination. I don't know. But again, if I don't know, I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't washed this since flock. So I probably should, but I just threw it on for the podcast because I didn't know what else to wear. Please don't judge me. I'll wash it, I promise. But anyways, basically I kind of had this like realization where it was like, okay, the bust size is like 36 inches, like around my full bust. My full bust measurement is 39 inches, and it kind of fluctuates throughout my cycle, you know, but approximately 39 inches, right? So that gives me about 3 inches of negative ease across the bust. However, as you can tell, there's positive ease here. This is not negative ease. This is not what negative ease looks like. And similarly, this is not negative ease here either, right? So we have positive ease, negative ease, positive ease. I personally don't like that look. And so I was kind of thinking like, why is this not fitting me? Then I started thinking about the Tulsa tee, or not the Tulsa tee, the Tulsa tank, the cami one that I knit, had a little bit of excess fabric right here. So it was supposed to be about 0 inches of negative ease, I think, if I recall correctly. Maybe a few inches of positive ease, but regardless, there was just excess fabric here, right? It's looser in this section than it is elsewhere. And again, like some of you are gonna be sitting there being like, well, no shit, like, duh, why are you just now realizing this? But I was realizing that it's because there's no bust shaping. And because I'm going off of my full bust measurement to pick a size, it's not gonna fit elsewhere because I have 3 inches of difference between my full bust size and my high bust measurement, and also like my band, like my under bust, I guess. I think that's what it's called, but like that's like a 36 and then 39 full bust and then 36 high bust. So I have 3 inches, which puts me into the range for D cup. When you are picking a size based off your full measurement, if you're not a B cup, which I think is kind of the standard that like most things get graded to, then the measurements for everywhere else, like it's gonna fit you in the full bust, but it's not necessarily gonna be a great fit for you like up here, down here, sleeves, everywhere. And so I was just, you know, browsing Reddit threads and other blog posts, and I also came across a video that Amy Scher made, so I will leave that video down linked in the description if you're interested in checking it out. But it was very helpful in order to like understand this concept for me. I guess like whenever I heard people talk about bust shaping, I had like two assumptions. One was that it was for women with just really big boobs, like just much larger cup size than a D cup, and I just never really thought of it as something I would need. And then I also kind of had, I think, like the misconception that it was only for making sure that the hem of your garment isn't higher in the front than in the back. And so I kind of like didn't really understand fully what it's for. And so now I feel like I have a little bit of a better understanding. Like, yes, it can be for the hem thing, but it's also so that, at least the way that I have come to understand it, is that you can size down and still have room for your tits. Because I didn't really like think about that like if you have a pretty big difference between your full bust and your other bust measurements, that like if you go up a size to accommodate for your full bust, that yeah, it's gonna result in like excess fabric in places. And especially for someone like me who's petite and busty. I'm only 5 feet tall, so as you can imagine, my proportions are different than, again, what a standard pattern is going to be graded to. Because like standard grading probably is assuming B cup, probably is assuming something closer to like 5'6" or something, like not 5 feet with a D cup. Like, yeah, so a lot of things are just going to result in not a super great fit if I go off my full bust size, because if I'm picking things based on a 39-inch bust, the pattern is going to assume that I'm also bigger up here and down here and in my arms and everything, when in reality I'm not. And so basically all that to say is that it's recommended based off people that I've heard on like speak on it, it's recommended to go off of your high bust measurement instead of your full bust measurement. Now, if you're a B cup or like an A cup, it probably doesn't matter. You could use either one because there's not going to be much of a difference, right? And depending on, like, you could go off your high bust, but it might end up being the same size that you would have gone off based on your full bust. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a big enough difference to really matter. But if you have a D cup or higher, or larger, you will have like a, you know, there's gonna be kind of, the patterns are basically assuming that you have a B cup, and so you end up with like maybe not the best fitting garment for your body. And so the high bust measurement is a better indicator of your overall size. And so it's a little intimidating because I think there's that thought of like, well, if I go off of this size, what if it's too tight here and then I can't wear the garment? And I think that this is something I just want to experiment with. If I start picking sizes based off my 36 high bust measurement, I just want to experiment. I want to see how they fit me. I want to see if I like it better, because I don't like this. And when I knit this originally, I did weigh a little bit more, and so I don't remember having this issue with like too much fabric. I think it fit me better. But also weirdly at the time I felt really self-conscious in it, and now that I've had more space after like knitting this and I've gotten a little bit more used to seeing myself in it, I like it a lot more, but then it doesn't fit as well. So all that to say that I'm gonna start choosing sizes based off of my high bust measurement instead of my full bust, and I will keep you guys updated with how that goes for me, because that's kind of the recommended way to pick your size, especially if you are petite and busty. Let me know if this is something you already do, or if you know of anyone that does this. I know this is really making me want to knit a lot of Amy Scher's patterns, because they've basically done this with all of their patterns where there's bust shaping now included in the patterns, and I think specifically the sizing, like when you go to look at like the Ravelry page, and it has all the information on sizing, like you're told to pick a size based off your high bust measurement. Which, just side note, I really want to knit the slightly sassy v-neck. So I did ask in my last podcast episode for recommendations for things that were like the Cumulus tee but size inclusive, and that is one of the recommendations that I got, so thank you for that. I am very excited to knit that. I don't know when I will cast it on, but I want to cast it on so badly because it includes bust shaping, and yeah, so I'm very, very excited for that because yeah, I think I'll be able to like size down but still have the bust shaping. It's gonna be great. Okay, so I think I'm gonna move on topic wise. And so I cannot show it to you because it is still blocking on my mats and it's still damp. But I wanted to talk about it a little bit. So I mentioned in my last podcast that I was a little nervous to wet block my Regency Romance Doodle just because it is knit with hand-dyed yarn. The hand-dyed yarn is from Moonglow Yarn Co, which I love. And I was a little nervous because there's that really, I'll put in a picture of it blocking. There's that really dark blue and then the creamy white shade and some lighter blues, and I was just like, that would really suck if like the dark blue bled into the lighter colors, and I was just nervous. And so I was like, I'm gonna seam block it because I've heard that advice before. If like you're worried about color, well, you know, color work bleeding, that you should steam block it. And so I tried that out. It literally did nothing. So my color work specifically, I don't know about you all, but when I knit color work, it needs a good block to look its best, to really like even out the tension, and you know, otherwise it doesn't quite look as good as it could. You know, still like looks nice, it's fine, but it's not like the best it can look. And so I was steam blocking it, and it just continued to kind of look the same. And the fabric like wasn't really getting wet at all, like not, I wouldn't even call it damp. It was just getting hot, and I was like, that seems bad. Like, that seems like I might end up felting this. So I gave up on the steam blocking, and I went ahead and I just, like, I let it sit, cool down, kind of dry, even though it wasn't really wet. Or even damp, and then I decided afterwards that it just, I wasn't happy with it, and I wanted to block it. I wanted to get that nice look that color work gets when it's all freshly blocked out, and things kind of even out, things kind of relax, the fabric gets a little bit more drapey, and so I full on blocked it. Like regular, soaked it in some wool wash and water and all that, obviously, and it was fine. It was totally fine. So I feel pretty confident now that I can block color work, like hand-dyed color work projects. I mean, I don't know, because like the Spin Cycle website says for high contrast color work to like steam block it, so maybe if I'm using their stuff, I might have to figure out something else to do. Or maybe like, I saw too on the internet, someone just like put like water and wool wash in a spray bottle and just sprayed it. So I'm like, maybe I'll just try that. But basically, I kind of feel like the steamer was a little bit of a waste of money. It was not very expensive. I just got it off Amazon. It was like $26 or something. So it wasn't, you know, crazy. I feel like I probably won't return it because I'm like, this might come in handy to like get out wrinkles. But as far as like for knitting purposes, I don't think it was worth it personally. So I wanted to update you on that. But yeah, so also the Doodle Cowl, when I was steaming it, I had it on 2 of my mats, like 2 of the squares. And once I put it out, after it had soaked in some water, when I was laying it out on the mats, I had to get a 3rd square out because I had grown not like hugely, but like significantly enough that I needed another mat. So yeah, so now it's like a little bit more drapey, and I'm very happy with how it's looking. And I think it's gonna, you know, once it dries, it's gonna be so beautiful, and I'm gonna graft it together and it'll be great. But I currently can't show it to you because it's still just too wet to like pick up and move around and stuff. So okay, so now we can get into I mean, that was kind of a whip, I just can't show it to you. So let's get into my other whips. I don't know which one to start with. I'm gonna get this one out of the way just because it's kind of boring. I've been working on my sock. This is just my vanilla sock that I currently have going. Honestly, I'm not like the biggest fan of this yarn. It is not very forgiving tension wise. The sides of my sock where I have like some laddering issues a lot of the time with magic loop, it looks kind of atrocious, not gonna lie. I think it'll block out probably. I feel like that's something I get really concerned with my magic loop tension issues at like where you're, you know, going between needles. But honestly, I was looking at my socks the other day and you can't tell once they're blocked. You literally can't tell. So I'm sure this one will be the same, but it's just not as fun working it up when you're like, ugh, this tension is not very cute. I do really love the colorway though, and it's really fun to see like the color, like the stripes kind of fading into one another. So I am really enjoying the color, but not so much like the yarn base, if that makes sense. This is the Schoppel Crazy Zauberball thing. I don't know what the colorway is. My label did not have an English like translation of the color, and I just see like a number and then a word that is, I think, German that I don't know what it means. So yeah, that is my current vanilla sock. It's very slow going. I think I lost my sock knitting mojo. I'm sure it'll come back, but I'm just not super into knitting them right now. I'll show you my color work socks. So I want to say thank you to those of you who left me some tips on the color work, because in my last episode, if you watched, you know I was having some issues with my color work. Specifically, there's so much fiber. I think that was from my vanilla sock, wow. You know that my, like, when it's going from one needle to the other in magic loop, I was having some issues with my floats being not long enough. So I got a couple tips on how I can, you know, fix that. However, I did finish the leg, so I finished the first color work section before I got those comments, so I didn't get to try those suggestions out. I just kind of kept trying to be mindful of the floats and try to like make them long enough. But anyways, I've started the heel, or I mean I did the heel, and now I'm on the gusset decreases. I did the, what's the best way to show you this? I did do, oh my gosh, I don't know if you can see that, but I did do the Eye of Partridge heel flap. It's basically this slip stitch heel flap, it's just like fancier. It looks a little bit more decorative. I'm interested to know if there's going to be a difference in how they hold up and like wear and stuff. But yeah, this is my, oh sorry, these are the Blooming Lavender socks by Stone Knits, and I'm using a bunch of Knit Picks Stroll yarn. Is it Stroll or Stroll? I think it's Stroll. That makes more sense. And two of them are the Tweedy Stroll ones, and then the other one, the purple, is just their regular Stroll fingering. The gray, the main color, is the Earl Grey Heather, the green is the Dill Heather, and then the purple is the Duchess Heather, if I'm not mistaken. That's my sock. I kind of lost steam on it. But anyways, oh, that was what I was gonna say. So one of the tips that one of you recommended, which by the way, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna try it out. I happen to have already done this before I got this comment, but on my last video. Anyways, I got the suggestion to knit the sock inside out. And I wish I could kind of like show you better, but like basically you just This is harder to do with my nails than I thought it would be. Yeah, okay. So you knit it inside out. So when you're doing the floats, they have to travel around the sock. So they're gonna be longer because they have a longer distance to go. And the way that I kind of like was able to understand this is that it's like if you're running on a track, right? Like, you know, in the like longer distance runs, they're all running on the inside of the track because it's a shorter distance than if you have to go around the lane. And like in the shorter runs, when you know, they each have their own lane to stay in, they're like staggered so that they're not, the people on the outside aren't running longer distances. So that's kind of how I was like, oh, this makes sense, because you're having to go around, like the circumference becomes bigger. Not by much, but enough to make it not too tight. So I'm going to try that out when I get to the next colorwork section. I will report back on how that goes for me. But I thought that was a genius little hack to do. Hopefully it works out well for me. But yeah, so that's my Blooming Lavender sock. So this one is pretty exciting. I have my Leith cardigan. I have a finished sleeve, y'all. Look at that. I'm so excited. Ignore all of the stitch markers I have for the boucle part. But yeah, I finished a sleeve. It's like the perfect length. It like comes to like right here, I feel like, on me. So it's like I can hide my hands in there. I love that. I love that length of sleeve. Kind of like this. Okay. Anyway, so obviously next steps, I need to knit the other sleeve, and then I need to do the button band. I am still terrified of the button band. Just the concept of having to knit it and then sew it on, and like I'm like, well, what if I don't, like, how am I gonna be sure that I'm knitting it the right length? And then you're supposed to like lock them separately, and then like what if, I don't know, what if once I don't know, what if I block the button band and then all of a sudden it doesn't fit? Like it's too long now. I don't know. And you can always like rip it back and do it again, but I'm just, it sounds so hard. And I feel like that's why I'm not knitting it faster because I'm like, I know that the button band is coming up and I don't want to do it. Sorry, I keep coughing. I think this has like the Surrey, right? And I am like, I feel like I'm inhaling things. I feel like sometimes in my podcasts, I have a really bad habit of just being like, here's my whip. Here's where I made it to this part. And then I like put it away and I move on to the next thing. And I don't really talk about, and I just realized, I'm like, I didn't tell you really much about this. So even if you're already really familiar with this, I should still talk more about it. So this is the Leith cardigan by Rebecca Clow, aka the Kraemer. I feel like every time I pick this up, I get so addicted to it. But because of the button band, then I like slow down. But it's like really, really fun as I'm knitting it. Like I really enjoy knitting it. And I think some of that is the pattern, some of it's the yarn. I really like this yarn. Working with a boucle isn't my favorite, but it's not bad. It's not as hard as I thought it would be. It's just that you can't really read your stitches. That's why I have so many stitch markers to like count rows and stuff. But I'm really enjoying it, and I really, really love working with the, what is it? The Earthy DK with their Surrey alpaca held together. It's so much fun. I really, really enjoy this project. And I think another reason that I'm going so slowly on it is that I don't want it to end. I really want to knit another one of these. It's just so much fun, like changing the yarns. The intarsia part was super fun. Just overall, this pattern has been a lot of fun. I only had one little hiccup, and I don't know what happened. When I was grafting, I don't know if I talked about this in a previous episode, because this is what I do, is like I forget to talk about these things. So trying to be better about that. But when I was grafting the, I guess it's the right panel, the right front panel and the back panel together on the, wow, the right panel, really? On the left, Saoirse, oh my god. When I was grafting the left front panel, to the back for the left shoulder, I was doing it on this stripe here, right? So I was grafting with the Surrey Alpaca and the Earthy DK. The pattern says at a certain point when you get to that part, it does say to leave a tail that's like 20 inches long, give or take, like, I think it was like 19 point something, whatever, it doesn't matter. About 20 inches of a tail. When I see things like that in a pattern, I always do a little bit extra. Like I go like, I don't know, like 25 inches, just in case. I ran out of yarn halfway through. I don't know why. I'm like, I don't want to blame the pattern because that's just like, you know, you would think that would be something because it wasn't per size. That was just for everybody to do like a 20-inch tail. So I'm like, you would think she's got so many people testing these patterns. If that wasn't a long enough tail, someone would have pointed it out. So I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. And it looks pretty good. I don't think my tension was crazy off or anything. And the only part that looks weird is where I had to add more yarn. So I don't know what happened. Because I measured it. Like I took out my tape measure. I did not eyeball it. I measured it. I did extra. It should have been more than enough. And it just, for some reason, I ran out like halfway through. It was so weird. And then the other side where I grafted it together is where I was doing the boucle portion. So I was grafting with the boucle, and that only worked out because when you're pulling boucle yarn through like a stitch and it's on your little tapestry needle and you're pulling it through, it stretches and it gets really stretched out. So it just like gets super long. So I had enough to do it because that's just what happens, I think, when you're trying to do some sort of sewn or like grafted bind off or grafting things together or something. Like it just stretches because it's being tugged through all the stitches. So it just flattens out and it just gets super long, and so it was more than enough to do it because it just stretched. But yeah, I thought that was so weird. I was like, what did I do where it was that short? Like that it like 20 inches worked for everyone else and I did half of it. Like, again, I'm not sure what I was doing. I was doing the Kitchener stitch. I know that people we're moving away from calling it the Kitchener stitch, but I feel like we need like a specific name for it, because if you just say grafting, I feel like, aren't there other ways to graft something? So I need someone to just like replace the name, unless there isn't any other way to graft things together. It's always Kitchener stitch. And in that case, cool. Grafting, great name. But if there's other ways to graft, we need a specific way to talk about the Kitchener stitch. But that's what I did, because that's what the pattern recommends. So anyways, that's my Leith cardigan, my boucle cardigan. And I will 100%, when I'm done with this, I am giving myself full-on permission to just go out and buy yarn for another one. I want like a more like different color one where like stripes are different colors instead of different textures, even though I would definitely knit this again in another color. I love it so much. It's Explore Knits and Fibers yarn from the Spain collection. The colors are all Olive Grove. Oh, and I think that Leith cardigan, I think I'm gonna wear it with this underneath quite often because I don't know if you can see my shorts. They're kind of the same color as the Leith cardigan, that like olive green. And doesn't that look nice together? I think that looks really nice together. I'm thinking too, a color work sweater with this color and an olive green. Like maybe like a cream main color, but with those as like the accent colors or like the contrast colors. I think so. I think so. I almost forgot to show you this one. So this is my Geogradiant shawl, which was the mystery knit along from last year from West Knits, and this one's gonna be really hard to show you because I have started clue 4. So last time I think I only had one section of clue 3 done, so like just this part, but like yeah, I think I finished think I finished, I had just picked up stitches basically and done like maybe a row or two on the second, whichever one was the second side. I think it was this side over here where I just picked up stitches. So I did all of this section here with the kind of zigzaggy part. Ooh, I'm getting all caught in this yarn. Oh my god. Okay. And then just try and show you. I have started clue 4, which is this section here, and it's the dip stitch section. So I can't really show you the whole thing because my cord is not long enough. But I am loving this section. It's so much fun. However, it takes so long. I don't know when I'll ever finish it. Like doing the dip stitch row, like the row that you're actually doing the dip stitch on, it took me like 3 different times when I was like sitting down for like a little bit to do just a little bit of knitting. It was like 3 different sessions, and it wasn't like hours, right? But it was like, you know, maybe like 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, 20 minutes here, and I finally got through that row. It just took so long. It got to a point with the dip stitch, I think after you do the dip stitch row, you have like over 900. You have almost 1,000 stitches on your needles. And then the next row, well, I won't give away the pattern, but has a lot of stitches and like fingering weight yarn. It took a long time, but it's weirdly like once you get into the rhythm of it, it's like so meditative. I loved it so much. But yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm so close to being done. I'm on the last clue. I think I've got like 3 more dip stitches to do. I think based on his sample, I think there's like, you do it like 2 more times maybe, and like depending on your yarn amounts you could keep going or not. But I'm like, oh, I'm almost done, but I'm like, no, not really. It's gonna be a while, I think. So I'm having a lot of fun with this. I'm really glad that I got back like to working on it, and yeah, I am glad that I did it this year, or this well, I guess, yeah, past year. I'm thinking kind of like full calendar year or not, sorry, not a full calendar year, but like a full 30, oh my god, not 30, 365 days. Wow. All that to say, I am on the fence about whether or not to do it again this year. I want to, but at the same time I have so many other things that I want to knit and I have yarn for, and I don't know, there's always kind of that question with the mystery knit-alongs. It's like, well, what if you don't really end up liking the pattern? Like what if it's not really your taste, or, you know, it's techniques that you don't really like? So I don't know. I think I may not do it. I know that if I don't do it, I'm gonna get FOMO, but that's okay. I can just be okay with having FOMO. Like that's okay. It's good to get used to just letting FOMO be there. Last whip. This one is so close. This one will be done by next episode. If it's not, something has probably gone horribly wrong. Okay. I just had a panic attack where I thought all of my stitches had somehow like fallen off my needles. But I realized it's because I put it on try-on cord, so I can put on put this on after and show you. I'm so tangled in yarn. Okay, kind of hard to show you, but this is my Fjolla. This is a pattern by Isabell Kraemer, and originally I started knitting this as part of a knit-along that Faith from Fiber Fables podcast was running. By the way, if you want to follow me over on Instagram, I feel like I never say this, and then I had someone ask me the other day, they were like, do you have an Instagram? And I was like, yes, I do. I'm sorry, I like never say anything. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you want to see what I'm knitting on, I'm at the Cozy Soul Knits. It is in my description box. I always have had it in there, but I just never say it. So I'm at the Cozy Soul Knits. Please follow me over there if you like knitting content on Instagram. And I've been trying to post more. I've been trying to be more active, especially cutting back on YouTube videos. I've been trying to post over there a little bit more, but I'm not great at it. So I don't know. Anyways, hopefully I will have some B-roll for you showing you what this looks like, because the sleeves of this are the coolest things ever. So you just have this lace detail just running down the sleeve. You've got the lace detail at the front here. So I did, let's see, I think in my last episode, I'm not sure how far I was. I don't know if did I finish the collar? Because the thing about the collar, this is why I'm thinking I hadn't finished the collar yet. So I think maybe I had a sleeve finished. And so since then I finished the collar, I finished the other sleeve, and then I have started the ribbing on the body, and I literally only have like, I don't know, maybe like 3 more rows to do. But one by one, rib on bodies of sweaters take me so long because they start to hurt my hands, and then I have to take breaks, and then it just takes me forever. So anyways, but yeah, it's fitting pretty well. I have a couple of notes about the fit of this, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I think this will block out. I don't know if you can tell, my collar in the back, like, I followed the rate of pickup and it was perfect. Like, I was able to get it the first try. I really liked how the pattern tells you, like, it doesn't just give you a rate of pickup for the whole collar, it like breaks it down kind of in like how many you're supposed to wear, if that makes sense. So I really appreciate that because it's like easy to follow. Let me tuck in some of my ends because they're driving me nuts. So I don't know if you can see it, but it's here. That's probably because I'm holding it in a weird way. So like, yeah, I don't know if you can kind of see how it's like kind of weirdly puckering a little bit, like almost like I picked up too many stitches, but like I think it's gonna block out. I'm really hopeful. And then when I put it on, it seems to lie pretty flat. Like, it doesn't seem to be pulling any weird way when I have it on, so it should be fine. And I think it'll block out. And then the other little note here is that on one of the sleeves, I think, see, and that's the thing, is like it's not easy to see where I did it. There it is. Let me take this ring off so I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but in this section I somehow messed up on the lace on some parts, kind of like right in here. Again, I don't think it's super noticeable, and by the time I did notice it, I was way too far along. I was not ripping back to that point because I think I had already done one of the sleeves. So I have to go change the battery. I will be right back. I'm back with a fresh battery. Okay, so yeah. Anyways, messed up a little bit on the lace, and that's okay. But the other side I did not mess up on at all, so I am getting better at lace. And I honestly think that if you're paying pretty good attention, I feel like the pattern repeat, it's pretty easy, I feel like, to tell, like if you forget to do a decrease, like you've done the yarn over, but you forget to do the decrease, because it's just such few stitches, so it's easy to tell if the count got messed up. But I think that kind of came with doing it over and over again. Okay, so a couple other things about this pattern. I think in a previous episode I said it was kind of a raglan. It's not a raglan. I apologize if I confused anyone. So the pattern calls this construction a modified contiguous set-in sleeve. I will show you on me, kind of, because it's hard to like hold it up and show you, but I don't really know anything about like set-in sleeve constructions. This is, I guess, like the first one I've ever really done. It was pretty easy, like, because you're increasing where it tells you to increase, so as long as you're following the instructions, it's pretty straightforward. I felt like the pattern was pretty clear in that regard, but yeah, I've never really done this before, and it kind of it felt like it was increasing kind of in the same areas as like a raglan would be increasing, so that's why I kind of was just like, yeah, it's probably a raglan, but I don't know what I'm talking about. So so I've never knit anything like this before in terms of like the shoulder construction. What else to say about it? Oh, then the last thing to mention is that I measured my gauge because because of the whole sizing thing where I'm saying, right, that I'm gonna, and I just realized I forgot, I thought this was my last whip. I have a new cast on. Where is it? I'll have to go grab it. Because I'm like very interested now in like the bust size of everything, so I was like, let me go ahead and like measure this, because I did put it on and it felt like it was a little tighter than I thought it was gonna be. Not like tight, like I think it still has positive ease, but it's just like, I don't know. I don't know. I forget. I think I'm knitting size 4. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure I'm knitting size 4. And it's supposed to have, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to have a, let me just pull it up on Ravelry so I'm not like totally, yes, okay, so I'm knitting size 4. It's supposed to have 45 inches of, it's supposed to have 45 inches in the bust. And the gauge is 21 stitches. I measured my gauge. I have 21 stitches. However, when I measured the bust of this, it's only 44 inches. I don't know why that is. I want to check and see. Ah, that's why. So, okay. So 45 inches is 114.3 centimeters. The Ravelry page, I think it's just a typo. She has it as 45 inches for the size 4, but in the centimeters it's 112.5 centimeters. So that's where the discrepancy is. I was like, what the heck? How do I have the same gauge, but I'm missing a whole inch? Like, how does that happen? It was a typo. Okay, that clears that up. So if you're knitting a size 4, it's actually going to come out to, if you're on gauge, it's going to come out to 44 inches. So if you're knitting this pattern and you're knitting a size 4, and if you had the same issue and you're like, what is going on? I feel like I could have figured that out before the podcast, but it didn't occur to me that it would be wrong. I was just like, I must be doing something wrong. So I think that's everything that I wanted to say about this. I was gonna ask why I had the right gauge but was missing an inch, but now I don't need to do that. So yeah, but overall I'm super excited for this, and I will have it done for next episode. Hopefully I'll be able to wear it too. I was kind of like thinking this would be really great to wear right now, because again, it's like, it's not hot out, but it's not super cold. Like, it's a little chilly, but it's not cold. So like something like this, which, oh my god, I didn't even tell you the yarn, I'm so sorry. This is Knit Picks Galileo yarn, which is a merino and bamboo blend. The color that I'm knitting it in is Orion, and yeah, I figured it would be a great option for like a transitional kind of piece. And I figured with like lace sleeves, you know, it's not something like, there's a lot of openness in that, so like I didn't want this sweater to be something that would be like when it's really cold out, so I didn't need it to be like a really rustic wool or anything, you know, so I figured it would be a nice transitional piece. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I almost forgot one of my most exciting whips. I barely started, but I do have my Faye Summer Top by Irene Lynn. I feel like I have been talking about this for a few episodes, but we weren't ready to cast on. So I am knitting this as a little like unofficial mini knit along with Faith from the Fiber Fables podcast and Jenny from Honeybird Studio. And so I don't know. I know Jenny, she's like already joined in the round. So I think she's knit this before. And then I don't know if Faith has cast on yet, but this is where I'm at. I spent like a solid day casting it on and starting it, and then it does have bobbles. I've never done bobbles before. The pattern tells you to do like a, you know, like the crochet hook, crochet, half double crochet bobble or whatever. I'm not a crocheter, so I think they're still cute though. I don't know if you can see them. But yeah, it's my first time. And the first one I did, so the pattern links to a video on Irene Lynn's channel of the technique. However, she doesn't, it's just her doing it. And so if you're not a crocheter, I feel like it's hard to know like what she's doing. And like I've dabbled in crochet, but I would not say I'm a crocheter like by any means. Like I've done it before, but like, yeah. Like beyond like a single crochet and a double, and like, I don't know. It's been so long too, I'm like very rusty. And so yeah, just like watching her doing it without any explanation was not helpful. So I started looking at other people's tutorials, but they're all a little bit different, and I really liked how hers look in the video, but I just didn't, I was like, this is not a helpful tutorial. Because, you know, maybe if you're familiar with it already and you're crocheting, then it would be fine, but yeah. So anyways, I slowed it down. I, you know, just like changed the playback speed on YouTube to be like really slow, and I just like, I kind of just like counted what she was doing and tried to, and I had to watch it through so many times to get it right. And I think I'm gonna have to do it every, like at least for the next few sets of baubles, I'm gonna have to watch it over and over again, very slowly, to like remember how to do it. But yeah, because like my first bauble, I was following, I think it was the, maybe it was the Andrea Mowry tutorial, but then I also, that one for some reason wasn't quite clicking for me either. And then again, because I think she's kind of assuming you are a crocheter and I'm not, so I don't know. And then I watched someone else's tutorial, but they're all a little bit different. So like my first bauble is like way like pointier. And then the other two are the ones that I did following Irene Lynn's tutorial. And I'm not trying to be shady. I just like, yeah, I was like, this isn't helpful. But if you slow it down, then it's fine. So anyways, I like her baubles better. They're not as pointy, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but like that first one is just a little bit higher, and I just didn't like it as much. So I liked Irene Lynn's one better. I just wish that the tutorial had like either verbal explanation or like subtitles that explain what she's doing. It just showed what she, and yeah, anyways. But you know what, it worked out, so it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I casted this on. I also, so one thing to know about this pattern is it only comes in 5 sizes. I know this is an older pattern. Her newer patterns have more sizes, and it looks like she's kind of progressively continues to expand her size range. So it only has 5 sizes, which isn't great. And I just wanted to call that out, so that if you are thinking about knitting this, you don't kind of get like disappointed when you go and look at the Ravelry page. But I'm totally showing you the wrong side. Doesn't matter. I'm knitting this in Lion Brand True Blue, by the way, in the color Seafoam. I was not sure about it was just looking very see-through, but I think it'll be okay. So I just wasn't really like sure, because it's lace, so it's gonna be a bit see-through anyways, so I don't know. I looked, there are 3 Ravelry projects that use this yarn, so I feel confident now. I had to like go back and check to make sure. But yeah, and then again with the sizes, sorry, I got like distracted. Sorry, I'm talking about something else. The sizes, only 5 sizes. I'm knitting a size 2. Originally I was gonna knit a size 3, but because of this whole high bust, full bust difference thing that I've learned about, I decided to size down. Because I didn't want it to, you know, because that's kind of the thing, right? It's like, if I size up for my bust, it ends up with like too much positive ease everywhere else, and I just feel like I keep kind of getting these garments that they're not oversized, but they're not like necessarily like a relaxed fit either. They're kind of somewhere in between, and it just sort of looks like they just don't fit. Like it's not on purpose, like it's just, you know, like you wear something oversized on purpose, you can tell, right? But when it's like not quite oversized but not quite relaxed either, I feel like it just, on me anyway, just sort of, and maybe it's also because of being petite, it just sort of looks like it just doesn't fit well. And I just I want to try to fix that. So I'm knitting the size 2. I can't remember, I think it's like a 44-inch full bust. And I think I could have actually gone down to the size 1 as well. Again, it doesn't have a great size range. So the first size, the circumference, the bust circumference is 43 inches. So if this is supposed to have, I think, 6 to 8 inches of positive ease. So if I was going off of the 36-inch high bust measurement, 43 inches, 36, that's like 7 inches of positive ease. and then well, not through my full bust obviously, but like higher up. And then the second size is 45.5 inches, the 36 inches. That's like 11-ish, right, of positive ease? Is that, am I thinking about, no, 9 inches, yes, sorry. I can do math, kind of. It's 9 inches-ish of positive ease. So, oh, maybe I should, yeah. I think I should have sized down to the first size. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think I'm just gonna keep knitting the second size and see how it fits, how it works. But if I was going off of my high bust measurement, I could have gone with the size 1, which again shows that this isn't a very size inclusive pattern because there's obviously people who are a lot smaller than me. Let us now talk about my acquisitions. No, wait, first, so sorry. I have one future plan that this is just stash yarn. I want to knit another mini mock neck tank in the size 3, which would be, I knit the size 4, I want to knit the size 3 because that's the one that would correspond to my high bust measurement, and I just want to test it out. So I have some stash yarn that I didn't have no plans for this, and I have a little bit left over from a pair of socks that I made. So this has 423 yards in this skein. The pattern for the size is something like 450-ish yards. So I feel like together with my leftovers from the socks and this full skein, it should be good to make that. This is Knit Picks Muse fingering in the colorway Thrill. And if you've been watching the podcast for a while, you know I made socks with this. I think I've actually made 2 socks with this because I had 3 skeins. So I made one for myself, I made one for my sister in this colorway, and this is my last skein of it. So I'm gonna knit it up. I'm not gonna give a shit about color pooling or anything like that with the variegated yarn. I'm just gonna, whatever happens, happens. And it's just an experiment to see, because I think my fear with the mini mock neck tank is that if I knit it the size down, I will have, I think it was something like 7.5 inches of negative ease around my full bust, and I was like, is that too much? is that just not gonna fit? But I did see one of the testers, because on Ravelry she has like the pictures, right? And like each picture on the caption it says like the bust size of the person and then the garment size, and like so you can kind of, you know, do the math and figure out how much negative ease they have. And I did see someone with 7 inches of negative ease, so I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna go for it and just see what happens. It's gonna be a little bit of an experiment. I'm planning to cast this on pretty soon because I kind of want to do this so I have a better idea of if choosing a size based off my high bust measurement for patterns that don't have bust shaping, if that's reasonable. So I kind of want to get this started so I can like have something to kind of base it off of. So that is a future plan. I don't know when I'll cast it on, but I am hoping soon. I didn't do too much damage at Flock. I feel like I was pretty restrained. But I also have yarn that I thrifted, which is, I've never thrifted yarn before, so that was really exciting. I found like good stuff, I think. Anyways, I don't know. And then I also have some new sock sets, so I will share those with you. I'm gonna save the Flock stuff for last, so I'm just gonna quickly show you the sock set yarn that I got. I did order again from Potions and Pearls. If you're not new to my podcast, you know that this is some of my favorite sock yarn. Her colorways just speak to me. So I bought 3. Do I need more sock yarn? No. But you know what? It's okay. I'm okay with it. I'm gonna start. Sorry. I'm so chatty today. I hope you're good with that. I'm trying to be more okay. Like, I'm gonna spend money, okay? And I'm trying to just like, obviously like I'm not trying to go crazy with it, but I'm just trying to like, when I do decide to buy something, I'm just trying to be good with it. I'm just trying to be like, yes, like I deserve it. I feel good about this. Like it's a good thing. I feel like I've been for so long just carrying around so much guilt when I buy things, even when I can totally afford it, even when it's totally something that I want and feel really like good about getting. It's like there's still that part of me that's like, no, you should feel guilty about this. Like this isn't okay. It's not okay to spend money. And it's probably things that, you know, I need to unlearn from like my parents, you know, that taught me that like spending money is like bad, and you know, it's generational trauma I need to unlearn and all that. But I'm just trying to, I'm not gonna feel guilty about buying yarn is what I'm trying to say, because I never go over budget. So there's no problem. There's no problem, and I'm really trying not to feel bad about it anymore, because yeah. So all that to say, I treated myself to some yarn. So this is a sock set. It is the Autumn Alchemy sock set from Potions and Pearls. It's really beautiful, like kind of moody colors. I've been really into like moodier colorways lately, but also still like the light pastel ones, of course. So this one is Sweet Melody. Really beautiful pink situation here. I'm very excited. It's got some green in it and purple as well. And then I have, this is the one that like I saw and I was like, I need this. It's so beautiful. And this is the Harvest Blessings. I'm sorry, it's kind of blown out on the camera a little bit, but there you go. I have those sock sets, very exciting. And then I'm gonna show you my thrifted yarn. Thrifting, you know, kind of like makes me nervous every once in a while, right? Like you don't know where the stuff has been. You don't know how well it was like cared for. And with yarn, I think there, you know, like I can totally see, like if you were like, I would never thrift yarn, I totally understand that. I would, like I get it. And normally, you know, I don't, like I go to thrift stores and I look at their little section of yarn, and it's usually just like one-off skeins of like acrylic yarn that you can just buy at Michael's for probably not too much more, right? And you know, so I never buy anything, but I went with my friend, like this was actually a few weeks ago. This was actually before my last episode, but it was in the freezer, and I'll get to that in a minute. The yarn was in the freezer, so I couldn't show it to you. But yeah, I went in and looked at the yarn section, and they had like, for a thrift store, they had a huge yarn section, and I found wool. I found like 100% wool in there, and I was like, I just loaded up my arms with all of this wool, found my friend who had the cart and just dumped it into the cart, and I just kind of looked at her, and she was like looking at me like, wow, like you found a lot. And I was just like, yeah. So I found some yarn. So I put them in the bags, and I will take them out of the bags. I put them in the freezer because that's what the internet says to do with thrifted yarn, because you don't know if there's moth eggs or something laying in there. Supposedly if you put it in the fridge, they die, if there was any to begin with. So I put it in the fridge for a few days, took them out, left them out to like thaw. Then I put them back in the fridge for another few days and then took them out again. And I'm gonna leave them in these bags and keep them separate from my yarn cabinet just in case, but I honestly don't. I feel like it's fine. The only thing is, one of these skeins, I did smell it and it smelled a little weird, so, but I couldn't tell if it was just smelled woolly or if it smelled bad. And so I'm going to probably wash some of them and not wash others before I use them. And obviously once I'm done using them, I will block it, you know, like I normally would. But anyways, so I have 6 skeins. This one doesn't smell bad. This is the Rowan felted tweed, and I don't think that this is, I think this is discontinued if I'm not mistaken. I thought that this was discontinued, but I think I must have been looking at a different Rowan tweed yarn. But anyways, it's 50% merino wool, 25% alpaca, 25% viscose. These normally are like $16 for 50 grams. I picked them up for $4 each. So, and there were 6 of them in the same color, okay? I have 6 of these. So I can definitely knit like a garment, like a top or something, like a t-shirt. I think I'm going to knit, this is tentative, but I think I'm gonna knit the Spring Sorrel shirt by, I think it's by Wool and Pine. I will obviously put up the details here. But yeah, I'm very excited. $4. That's like, that's crazy. So then, and you guys can maybe help me out with this. I've got no fucking clue what this yarn is. I've tried looking it up multiple times and I can't seem to find anything. No idea. This, yeah, this is the one that, it just smells bad. But then the other ones, this one just smells woolly. Yeah, I don't know. I might wash these. These were also $4 each. And I do think that somebody re-wrapped the label on it, so I don't know if these are full skeins, because like obviously they don't look like they, you know, are wound up properly. It's hard to say what this yarn is. It says same gone, but I also don't know if I'm able to read the full label. But it's 100% virgin wool made in Norway. I cannot, it says something like Yulin Bayer, but it also has words that are probably in Norwegian. That would make sense. And so I have been trying to look this up and I cannot find it. So I don't know if this is just like really old yarn that like predates the internet or something, but I don't know. It's wool. So I grabbed it because I thought these colors would be great as like accents or like contrast colors for a colorwork sweater. Like these 3 specifically, I really like how they're, you know, together. I like them. I also got this kind of like this color, which is kind of similar, right? And this one had like these, like, so obviously I think this one was partially used. This one might be a full one. But again, yeah, oh, I don't think the label's been taken off this. So this might be a full one that just kind of over the years has come out of its twist a little bit. Oh, there is potentially another clue. I don't know if you will be able to read that. If anyone, I'm guessing it's Norwegian, but maybe I'm wrong, but if you can read that, it might say like made in Norway, just in Norwegian. And then there's this logo here. I don't know if anyone wants to help me research this. Cause like, I don't know. I'm like, where did it come from? But yeah, and this is the last one that I grabbed. It's just kind of this green color. So yeah, I don't know, but it was all like colors that I liked. I don't know. I just went to that section of the Goodwill and it was just like stocked. I was like, oh, and then when I was like looking at clothes too, there was like a lot of hand, well, I guess not hand knit, they were crocheted, but like obviously handmade, but like in a good way, like not in like a, that was handmade, but like in a, wow, you made that. So yeah, and I saw, I don't know, like they didn't fit me, so I didn't buy them, but they were so beautiful and I was like, wow, I can't wait for someone to like, not that I'll be there to see it, but like someone's gonna find this and love it so much, and like that's so exciting. And I just really look at it as someone who like made it for themselves but maybe grew out of it or just wasn't their style anymore, so they're like, I'm gonna pass it along to someone else. So, and maybe they were the same person that was like destashing a bunch of yarn. Let's transition to flock. So I did get a good amount of yarn. I am going to talk a little bit about my experience there. It was not a super social thing for me, mostly because I don't really know that many knitters in this community, like mutually, if that makes sense. Like I know of people, but I don't know them. At least the people that were at Flock. I'm hoping next year there'll be like more people that I, like more of my mutuals, I guess, and people that I watch like their podcasts and they watch mine, and you know, I can hang out with them, you know, meet up with them like beforehand. So this year I did go with my 3 best friends, and it was like in that way, like it was really, really fun. And like it was a great experience. We had a great time. But I do kind of wish that, because like none of them are really in the online like fiber space. 2 of them are not, they're not knitters or crocheters or anything. One of my friends is a crocheter, and she did buy some yarn to knit socks with at Flock and asked me if I would teach her how to knit socks. And of course I would love to do that, so I'm very, very excited. But like none of them are in the online knitting space, so like, you know, I don't know. I think it's just kind of you kind of go with a different vibe than if you're, I don't know, if you're like a proper like knitting podcaster or, you know, Knitstagrammer or what, I don't know, anyways, you know what I mean? Like it's just a little bit of a different vibe. So I didn't go to like meet up with people or to like meet people face to face, because like I didn't know anybody going, except for my friends. And I did see people that I knew, like, or that I knew of, but honestly, I was so, like, I mean this in a good way, but I was so overwhelmed. There was just so much to look at, so much, and it's like, the space that they chose, the Summit Building at the Seattle Convention Center, was perfect. It was so spacious, lots of natural light. It was gorgeous, really, really cool place to have Flock. And that building, I learned from reading some of the comments on one of the Flock Fiber Festival's like Instagram posts. That building was actually, they were starting to work on it in 2020, like constructing it, and then COVID hit, right? And they stopped the construction, and they were like, okay, what can we do to make this building like better for like not spreading COVID? Like, what are some things we can implement to make this like a, you know, a safer, healthier environment for people, so that to like mitigate or like lessen the risk that people will come into this building and get COVID. So they've got all these fancy, you know, filters and whatnot in the building. So I learned that from an Instagram comment from the people who run Flock, and I thought that was really cool that they chose the building specifically with that in mind. But yeah, it was really, really spacious, really like a lot of room in between the booths, so that like there's a lot of path to like, or like room to walk. The booths themselves were like a little smaller than I would have liked. It was hard to like get into some of them, but you kind of just, I don't know, you kind of have to just like be okay with like bumping into people. But yeah, it was, so like, it was not overcrowded, but it was still crowded. There was a lot of people there. I think I got there about 1 o'clock, so it was already popping, and there was a lot of people there, and yeah, it was just overwhelming, but like not in a bad way. It was just like so much to take in. Like you want to look at all the booths, you want to look at all the people, because they're all like, but you're not looking, at least for me, I wasn't looking at faces. I'm looking at everyone's like hand knit or like crocheted, you know, garments and outfits and stuff. And I'm, you know, so I'm like not even looking at like the people, I'm just looking at clothes and yarn, and it was just so overwhelming in that sense that I just didn't even really like I literally walked past Amy from Knee Knits 3 different times, like just going up and down the aisles of the booths, and every time I was like, oh, that's Amy from Knee Knits, I watch her podcast, like that's so cool. But it just like, it didn't really like occur to me to like make my way over to her and be like, hi, I'm Saoirse, I like your podcast, I watch your podcast, like, I don't know. And I'm not like always super great, like, I don't know, I feel like very socially awkward, so I don't know, I just like, it doesn't occur to me to like do things like that, to like go in and introduce myself to somebody that I don't know but know of, like I don't know. And so I just thought that that was kind of funny because it was like I saw all these people, like I remember seeing like spotting Nitty Natty. I saw I kept seeing like Kate from Spin Cycle walking around places, and like you know, just people like I recognize. Like I don't know these people, I just recognize them from like either knowing their brand or watching their podcast. And who else? And then it was funny because people who I also watch, like Leslie from Knit California, I'm pretty sure I was there at the same time as her. I did not see her once. I never like once was like, oh, that's Knit California, like never once. And like other people that I follow, I, you know, went later, like I'm on, you know, when I got home and I'm like going through Instagram and seeing everyone's posts and I'm like, that person was there? Like I never saw them, like, because there's just so much going on. And again, I wasn't even looking mostly at people's faces. I was looking at their knitted clothes and like, and their crocheted clothes. And so I just like, I just didn't, it was, again, kind of overwhelming. I think next year, now that I like know what to expect, it'll be a little bit easier for me to maybe go with more of a social goal in mind of like meeting people, maybe meeting up with some people. And again, hopefully I'll have like more people like that I know who know me. And if you do go to Flock next year, I mean, I'm hopeful I can go next year. I'm gonna try really hard to like, I want to go for like the whole thing. If you also are there or if you're gonna go and you watch my podcast and you see me there, please come up to me and talk to me. Like I would love it so much, and I might have a resting bitch face, so ignore that. I'm super nice, I promise. I'm a little awkward. So if you're also a little awkward, like we can be awkward together, it's okay. But yeah, if I have like a resting bitch face, or if I seem like I'm like zeroed in on something, like just stop me and just come up and say hi to me anyways. Like, but yeah, I'm hoping I can like meet up with some people next year and have it be more of like a social thing. But it was also really great to just go with my like closest friends as well. Like that was a really great experience too. And I did talk with like some of the people at the booth, so like I guess it was a little social there as well. And what else do I want to say about like the experience? The other thing is, so I only went on the Saturday. Next year I want to go for at least this like Saturday and Sunday, and like potentially whatever they do on like the Friday night beforehand. That would be cool to go to as well. But I definitely want to go both days, like both shopping days, because I want to attend some of the classes. I did not realize they had classes. I knew that they had like the panels, and I wasn't gonna like make my friends sit through a panel on something that they like do not care about. So we didn't do any of that. But next year I want to go to some of the classes. Like if I had known prior that Sarah Nordlund was teaching a like cable class, I would have gone to that. I just didn't like realize, and I don't know if you had to like sign up for those beforehand, because like I'm sure like the space for it would have been limited. But anyways, I have no idea. But hopefully next year, what I'm trying to say is like I want to get more of the experience, like the full experience. And then I feel like shopping wise, I want both days to shop, and I want to get there right when it opens because it was definitely, I can tell from people's like Instagram stuff, like stories and whatnot, it was way more chill in the morning. Like there were not as many people there. In the afternoon, it was like there's so many people here. So like for example, I could never get into the Doodle booth for Jamie from PacificKnitCo. Like I could never get into her booth because there's always so many people, and I could have like waited and like, you know, gone into it, but it was just like so overwhelming. I was like, I don't need to, and I was kind of panicking, and yeah, so I just didn't. For some of the booths, it was like I wanted to go in, but I just like didn't end up going in. And then like when I got home on Saturday, there was some yarn that I didn't get that I kept thinking about. I kept being like, I wish I had gotten that yarn. I wish I had just went ahead and done it and stuff. And so it would be nice to like go the second day and like get all the things that I didn't get the first day that I wish that I did or that I saw other people get. And I'm like, okay, let me go grab that too. So I feel like you can definitely make your way through all the booths in one day, like if you can only go on one day, but like I definitely want to go both days next year. I felt like it was put together really well. It was really well organized. Again, the space was great. perfect space to have it. I'm glad that they're doing it again there next year as well. I think they just announced that, so that's pretty cool. And so let's go ahead and get into my flock acquisitions. I just got yarn. I am gonna pre-order the tote bag because it was out by the time I got there. I'm gonna pre-order a tote because it looks like just such a great project bag. It has a zipper. I want one. I also want to get a shirt. I think there was a cute shirt that was kind of a, maybe not a minty green color, but like a kind of a light greeny blue color that I feel like I just really like the color of. So I want to see if they have that available. I will be getting that as well. Okay, so the first, so when we got there, we just kind of did a lap around to kind of just see what all the booths were, kind of just get a vibe, like get the lay of the land, just kind of see what I wanted to look at more in depth. And then once we had kind of walked up and down, kind of looked into all the booths, but we didn't really go into any of them. But then when we were done with that, the one that kind of caught my eye first, it was kind of because of the logo. So I stopped into the 40 Winks Fibers booth, and I'll just show this one up close. It's got this cute little, I don't know, is it a hamster? Like a mouse? I'm not really sure what it is. It's the cutest. He's just so cute. Let me show you again. He's just adorable. And so, yeah, I was in there. This skein kind of caught my eye from like outside the booth, and so I like, you know, I got swept in. The logo, the color, kind of just, I got swept into the booth, and I was looking at this one. There was like another one that I was also looking at that I wasn't sure. I think it had like a little bit more blue in it, but I just kept coming back to this one, and I was like, I want this skein. I'm gonna make socks with it. And so I was going to go buy this, and I was waiting for the owner to check someone else out, you know, someone else was buying something, and so I was kind of still browsing, and I found this sock set, and I'm just been in kind of a weird mood where I'm like, I want some moodier colorways, and this just like really fit the bill. And I'm so sorry, I'm not saying what these are. So this is her classic sock base. It's a fingering 90% superwash merino wool, 10% recycled nylon, so that's cool. And this the colorway is cornfield in summertime. And then this one, the sock set, is a yak sock set. So it's 70% superwash merino wool, 20% yak, 10% nylon. And again, fingering weight. And one of the colors, I'm not sure which one is it looks like it's from maybe a sock club. It says April Creature Comforts Club. And then the other one is, oh no, wait, this whole thing is the April Creatures Comfort Club. So she has apparently a sock club, so I might need to look into that. Anyways, so one of the, oh, wow, okay, yes. This one is Raindrops on the Window, and this one is Nowhere to Be. So I'm not sure. Yeah, anyways, it just sucked me in, so I grabbed it. And this is also the booth that my friend bought some sock yarn as well. She kind of like made her own little sock set with like a mini and a full skein. So this is my first purchase at Flock, and I had a really great time talking, just like, you know, just short little chit chat with the owner. She was really, really nice. I felt very like welcomed to be in the booth. She complimented my mini mock neck tank. I wore this to Flock, by the way. I already told you that. So yeah, it was just, yeah, she was really nice. I really enjoyed her booth, and would definitely purchase more of her yarn. It feels really nice. It was really nice. Can't wait to knit with it. And then every time I was walking past the Red Door Fiber Studio booth, I kept seeing this colorway, and I think this is from the Barbie, they're like Barbie themed one. It's I'll Beat You Off Any Day. And it's just this beautiful, oh gosh, it's so washed out. I'm sorry. But I don't know, can you tell? It's like a really beautiful minty blue-green color. I love it. Love it so much. And I already kind of talked about this on Instagram, but these just like happened to go so well together because, yeah, I don't know if you can kind of tell, like it has some of this kind of minty blue in the skein. So I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, how am I out of battery again? I'm talking so much. Oh no, I'll be right back. What I was saying is I think I will be knitting a pair of socks with this is the main color and this is like the cuff, heel, and toe. But then I feel like I will also be able to knit just a pair of socks in this and a pair of socks in this as well, like on their own. So I mean, it depends, but usually I have quite a lot of sock yarn left over when I make a pair of socks. So that is these guys, and yeah, I just thought that was, I didn't intentionally do this. I was gonna get like a sweater quantity of this, but I just didn't know what I didn't know what I would make with it. And now, now that I have this, I actually have my eye on some other minty blue-green yarn from the Wandering Flock. So I might get more. I mean, it's not this yarn, different yarn, but now I do kind of want like an all over minty blue sweatshirt situation. And this is on their classic sock base, by the way, which is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should have gotten a sweater quantity of it, but I didn't know what I would knit with it, so I just went with a sock. So I stopped into the Explorer Knits and Fibers booth and I was immediately drawn to this color. It's like this really deep, beautiful teal, and it's the Rockies DK base, so that's their superwash one. And then it's one of the Akatar colorways. It's the To the Stars Who Listen. And I don't remember when that colorway came out. I feel like it was before my time as a knitter, or as someone who knew that there was like hand dyers who made like things themed off of books that I read. So anyways, I got 5 skeins and I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna knit a sweater with it. I'm not entirely sure which one. I'm still thinking about it, but I wrote down, in order to prepare for a flock and to like not end up buying too much of something, I made like a notes entry specifically for flock for things that I could get. I didn't really have one written down for like specifically like just one. I had like DK patterns, like yardage written down in here, but they were for like colorwork sweaters. But I just wanted like this one just like all over, so I didn't really know. I think I may have like quickly looked at Ravelry just to like figure out, just looked at like one pattern just to like get a ballpark, but 5 skeins should be enough for me to knit some sweater of some sort. So I'm so excited. This is a beautiful colorway. I stopped into another booth that was new to me, and I never heard of this brand before. So on our kind of walk through, our first slap through, we kind of ended up like going into the booth a little bit, even though we were just trying to get like an overview. We like couldn't help ourselves because these colorways were so beautiful. And we kind of stepped into the booth a little bit, and there was a younger woman working there and an older woman working there that I think may have been her mom. Maybe I'm wrong, but the 2 women who were working in the booth were so incredibly nice, so friendly. We stopped in and we were talking with like the older woman about just like the colors. She was giving us kind of the rundown of the different bases and telling us like about them and everything, and I thought that was just like very thoughtful of her to like take the time to do that, because there was definitely other people looking around in the booth, and she, you know, like took her time kind of explaining all the different bases. It was really, really nice. And then, so yeah, and then we were, you know, gonna continue on our way walking through everything. So I was like, we'll be back. Like, we're just gonna keep kind of, you know, walking through, doing a little lap. And it was so nice because she remembered us when we came back. She was like, oh, you made it back here. And it was just like really friendly. Just, they both gave off that energy of just people that it's like, you know that you don't know them, but you kind of want to hug them. Like, you're just like, their energy was just so wholesome and welcoming and like great. It was just beautiful. And there was a little bit of when I was like trying to buy the yarn, we were having an issue because my credit card it doesn't tap it. You have to insert it, and it's just like, I don't know, my credit union literally spared all expenses on, like, it's the cheapest card material that they can make credit cards out of. It's like flimsier than my library card, so like, and it's old, so it's just like, it, I don't know, sometimes it has issues, and she couldn't get it to like insert. She's like apologizing, and I'm like, oh no, it's totally okay. And then I was like, oh, like, can I just use Apple Pay? And she's like, oh yeah, like we can try that next. I'm like, no, let's just do it now because like my card is causing you so much issue right now. And it's like definitely my card's fault, not you. But she was so nice about it, and she was like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, no, it's totally fine. Like, it's definitely not your problem, like your fault. It's definitely mine. But she was so nice, and they were just so friendly, and I'm like, I'm definitely gonna buy more yarn from them because I just love the vibes. And all the colorways, like I had trouble picking a colorway. I kind of like, I was like, would it be terribly irresponsible of me to like buy one of each? And like, I don't know. But this is what I ended up getting. And by the way, sorry, the brand is the Royal Bee Yarn Company, and they were just so sweet. They were just literally the nicest people in that booth, and I really appreciated just, yeah, how friendly they were. And I was like, I just want to stay here. I just want to stay in this booth. And all of their yarn was just like this, like all these gorgeous jewel tones. Again, right up my alley. I love them so much. So I picked up 3 skeins of this fingering weight yarn. What's the colorway name? Well, the colorway is just 10G, if that's what it says. It says colored 10G, and then it has the lot number. So I don't know if it had like a different name, but anyways, it's just this beautiful deep red shade, and I was just thinking like just a simple stockinette sweater. I think I'm gonna knit the Cozy Classic Raglan Light from Jessie Made Designs. But yeah, so this is actually not hand-dyed yarn. So this yarn, they do have hand-dyed yarn there, and that's why I was like, I wish I had gone back on Sunday and bought some of the hand-dyed yarn from them, because that was also so beautiful. And they had a sock sample knit, and it just felt so good. And I'm like, I'm gonna buy some of their sock yarn too. Anyways, this specific yarn though, it doesn't really have like a name on the label, but this was milled in Peru specifically for them, and also like dyed there as well. But like they obviously like, you know, picked the color and everything, but it was like milled and dyed at this mill in Peru, like specifically for the Royal Bee. I don't have like anything quite this shade of red, so that'll be fun. So that is all that I bought at Flock. I kind of wish that I had picked up more, but also, you know, I got a good amount of things, and if I had gotten more, yeah. But I do kind of like, there were some things that I kept thinking about later on, and I'm like, I wish I had picked that up. So I might, like, before next year, I might try to like hold off on buying yarn, knowing, like, if I know that I'm gonna go to Flock, because I don't know if I said this, but I didn't decide I was going on that Saturday until the Thursday right before. It was kind of a unplanned thing, but I kind of just was like, you know what, I live in the area, like, I should just go. Like, it's yeah, I'm here, I'm not doing anything, I should just go. But yeah, I've already talked a lot today, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. I hope it wasn't too long of an episode for you, but I just had a lot to talk about. So anyway, thank you so much for watching and for sticking around to the end. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed and you like my podcast, make sure to hit the subscribe button before you go, and don't forget to leave me a comment. You can let me know what you were knitting on while watching, or let me know how your projects are going. But anyways, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and week, and I hope you get lots of knitting time in, and I hope to see you back here in my next podcast episode. Bye!
Alright, this is a song that I wrote about falling too fast, but I wouldn't know anything about that.
I don't wanna lose my grounding, so you catch me not responding, and I press my lips together so you don't find any answer.